My name is Andrew. My pronouns are he, him, they, them, she, her. I don't care.
All of them.
Sexual orientation is, at the moment, ace. No idea where I am on the romantic orientation, and my gender is sure. I identify as just queer. I don't know what I am.
Fair.
Born and raised in Grays Harbor.
Where at specifically in Grace Harbor?
Montesano. Well, I've been pretty much out as queer since I was like 13. It's been no different. I mean, I met the same trans guy that he did back when we knew each other by our dead names, different gender, all that kind of stuff. And he was normalized, so it gave me the courage to come out to people, and every one of my friends was like, oh shit, well, so am I am too. And by the end of it, I mean, we were all just one big queer little family. I grew up I grew up extremely privileged in terms of family. I have the most supportive family in the world. I'm not even kidding. I came out to my mom as a lesbian, and she goes, okay, well, we'll meet your girlfriend one of these days. When I came out to her as trans, she nodded her head and she goes, okay, what's your name? It was my mom who supported me through everything. She's my best friend, so I can count on her for pretty much anything. It took my dad a little bit longer to come around, because I've always been a daddy's girl, and he was worried that he was going to lose his little girl. But when he and I went out one day and did a father-son bonding trip up to the mall, because I don't go fishing, he realized he's not losing his kid. It's just, I'm just still the same dorky weirdo that he fell in love with when I was 2.
So, I am Braylon. My pronouns are he, him, or they, them. I'm pansexual, aromantic, and genderqueer transmasculine. I am originally from Texas. I grew up in Texas from the time I was like 1 year old, or a few months, something like that, until I was 16, and then I moved up here to Aberdeen. That's a big oof. It was difficult. I originally thought I was bisexual.
And a lesbian.
And then it turned into thinking I was a lesbian. I fell in love for the first time when I was 7 with a girl named Brittany. She was my best friend. We lived next to each other, and she was kind of my sexual awakening. And she helped me see that I was not straight. So I knew from a young age that I was somehow queer. I had never heard the word trans, so I wasn't able to identify with that until I was much older. But I knew that something wasn't right. I knew that I wasn't just a girl. Never felt right. And I was closeted my entire life until I moved up here, because Texas is not a very friendly place to be queer. Moving up here was for my coming out was a huge thing. I met someone who is also trans. His name is Daniel, and he also kind of helped me. Like, he didn't help me, but like knowing him helped me with my identity. And then I also met another trans guy named Jack, and it was meeting him that introduced me to the trans community, and that's when I realized that I was trans. And Grays Harbor is a tiny red dot in a blue state. It can be kind of difficult to be queer here, but it's definitely a lot better than it is in Texas. So I'm a lot more open here, a lot more who I am. So my mother did not react very well. She told me I killed her daughter, or that I was trying to kill her daughter. She did not accept me. She is no longer a part of my life for a multitude of reasons. But it was really hard because she was supposed to be the one person that loved me unconditionally. And finding that me being trans changed that was really difficult. Thankfully, I did have a good support system with my friends. I even have a mom. Her name is Jen. She is one of the best people who's ever come into my life. I don't know where I would be without her. She's a huge part of my life. She's made a huge impact. Sorry.
So, I actually love our little story because I've actually had people tell me it's given them hope. We broke up in high school, like months before my graduation. It was a mutual breakup. It was amicable. We're like, this isn't working. Let's go on.
Friends.
Yep. And we lost touch for a little while there, for I think about a year, until we both ended up going to college together at Grays Harbor. Still not close. We had our own little friend groups. We were both dating other people, all that. And then Overstock in 2017. We found out we were working the exact same shift, the exact same day. Like, everything just ended up staying together. And throughout the entire abusive relationship that I was in, he had been my rock. And because of it, after we both broke up and cut toxicity out of our life, we started talking. LOL, if we're both single by 30, let's get married. You know, the rom-com trope. Like, that rom-com best friend trope. The one you know of. And we're like, okay, well, let's have kids. Let's do this. Let's co-parent together. And then it stopped being a joke, and he proposed.
Yeah. I guess it was official when I proposed.
That's honestly a very hard question because our relationship is extremely unconventional. You know, it started out as a joke and turned out to be more serious than we expected. Like, I thought I was Arrow for years. I didn't know that I could fall in love with people.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I know, I'm in love with this loser.
Our story is one of those great examples of right person, wrong time. Because I thought that I was in love with him back in high school. Our prom dance was Colby Calais' Falling for You. It was very cringy. And then we broke up, and like you said, when we started Overstock it, and he broke up with the toxic family that he was a part of, and we started joking, we're not married by 30, we'll just get married. And then, like you said, it was, well, if we're gonna do that, we might as well just have kids together and co-parent. And then at some point it stopped being a joke, and I realized that I didn't want to spend my life with anybody else. He was the person that I was insanely in love with, and I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. So I proposed on February 19th of 2020, or 2019. We were down in California to go see a concert, and we went to the zoo, and I proposed right outside the reptile house.
Snakes.
I tried to do it inside the reptile house, but I chickened out because he loves lizards and snakes and reptiles.
What I find funny is he chickened out, despite the fact that I'd already said yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
The only thing that he was doing was giving me a ring at this point.
Pretty much. We got married
March 19th.
of this year.
That was a feat and a half, because
Yeah.
we actually had a full plan. Like we were ready for this, and then
Then a global pandemic.
but then a global pandemic happened, and our marriage certificate was just about to expire. We're like, okay, crud, we need to do something. So we messaged a friend. We're like, hey, are you officially ordained? Can you marry us? And she goes, yeah. I'm like, okay, can you two be our witnesses? And both the people said yes.
And the date also had significance too. We're both pagan, so we chose that date because it was the spring solstice. So it's a time of rebirth. So it was a good time for us to start our life together.
Queer, two queer weirdos who happen to love each other.
Yeah, pretty much. It's hard to define our relationship.
We are strictly, I know it's supposed to be PG-13, so I'm not going to go obviously into detail. We are strictly romantic with one another. We don't really do anything more than just the romantic side of a relationship, because neither one of us are interested in that aspect of the relationship. We're perfectly fine sitting on a couch watching whatever TV show we happen to be watching.
Yeah.
We go off and do the more physical acts with other people because we're openly poly.
Lots of communication.
If you feel feelings, first try to figure out what those feelings are. I have a trouble with that. But if you feel feelings, you let your partner know. Hey, I'm not a big fan of this. Like one time.
Yeah, when we first started exploring polya, I had a partner that I'm still currently with. That at first Drew was like, yeah, I'm cool with this, and then a few days later he was like, I've thought about it and I'm really not okay with this. So we sat down and we talked about it, and as soon as he said, I'm not okay with this, I was like, okay, then it's over. Because our relationship is more important than any other relationship that I can have. Because he's my number one. Always will be. So we sat down and we talked about it, and we finally came to an understanding that it's not that he wasn't okay with it, it's that he was worried about our relationship.
Some of them don't understand. Most people are like, most people, from what I've noticed, is you have to be physically intimate. You have to have the cookie cutter life, and I don't know.
The first thing my mother said to me when she found out we were polya was that she didn't raise me right, because she comes from a very Christian background where she believes she's okay with the gays, but she believes that marriage is between two people and nothing more than that. So she was not accepting of that either. Now my chosen family, they're a lot more accepting of it, because they understand that it's our life and they don't necessarily have to understand it to still love us.
I, again, grew up in a very loving and privileged house. I, like, in terms of queer kids, I have it made. I do. I realize I am extremely lucky. So when I told my mom, she was worried because I've been burned severely in the past, and she's like, I'm just worried about you. But once she realized our relationship, I mean, she took him in no different than she took in my sister-in-law.
A little bit, and mainly because I was raised in Texas, I was raised Southern Baptist, so there's always going to be that part of my brain that's like, something about this isn't right. But then the logical part of my brain is like, it's not right. It's perfect because it's what makes me and Drew happy.